Hello everybody and welcome to another update stream. Who have we got here tonight then?
Hello.
Welcome, hello. So we made it through the trailer, that third time lucky, eh? We made it through. It's great to see you guys, and I hope that you, obviously the update already went out a couple hours ago, so I hope that you're excited by the new update. There's a whole range of changes and improvements in the game, both new features but also huge performance improvements as well. So yeah, so it's working now. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Yeah.
Hello guys.
Awesome. So as we are kind of running a bit late now, we're going to probably crack on right away. I don't know if Marek wants to say anything about this update as a whole and the reason, the thinking behind it.
Yeah, so this is kind of like an intermediary update before another big one, major one. This is also major one, but the next one will be the most major of the major releases we will do. Yeah, that's the main thing. And also another thing is that today is 5-year anniversary since we released Space Engineers on early access. So it's also kind of like a birthday or something for Space Engineers.
It's a big number there. 5 whole years. Sorry, I need to sit a bit closer.
I'm
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, now I think you should hear me better.
If not, I'm gonna turn you up to the max again. Should be loud enough, but oh well.
Yeah, so I will just quickly repeat. Today is 5-year anniversary for Space Engineers being on early access, and kind of birthday. So yeah, let's celebrate.
It's going to be, actually what we're going to do first, actually, I know a video to play here. Just as it is, I know, no video, who knows what will happen, but as it is the 5th anniversary, we're now going to watch the first ever video from Space Engineers. This is alpha footage. This is pre-release. This is from August of 2013. The game didn't come out on Steam for another 2 months. So take a look at this.
Actually, this is even a version that was not released because we made this trailer about 2 months before the release, and to have some time. And then we changed some things before making this trailer and releasing the game. And maybe people can spot the difference because I can clearly spot it, but maybe they can also spot. So
they're asking if it's the one that's. They're asking about if it's the one that was on your phone that you did on your phone.
No.
That was something. I think that came later. In fact.
I would say this is 4th video if we start counting with these phone videos.
Okay, then hold on. Let's see if we got this up then. Okay, good. Let's watch it together here. Here we are. It's a couple of things like the smoke thing there, right? Is that something from Modern Wars? Was that something from Modern Wars?
No, actually the smoke was faked. Like that was
it's still coming out now.
that was the only thing that we actually kind of faked in this video. That we added it there artificially. It wasn't part of the game mechanics.
Okay. Still looks good. Yeah. That was the other thing. There was you had the older construction stages, but they were more like poly heavy, right? Like I think you liked them more, but you had to change them because the other ones were just they were super intensive, right? When you had big ships.
I like this one more because.
Oh yeah. Because you see the actual panels, like where the steel plates would go in. Right? That's crazy. That's over 5 years old. It's just mad. 5 years of our lives here. No? Oh, really? That's weird. It's alright. You guys don't scare me now. A glitch in the system. Saves. And this was the first time, possibly, you showed the red ship.
I think
showed it
in this phone.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, ladders as well. This part of the game, so this part, is this what sold it for you, is it? There you go. Space Engineers will be available soon on Steam Early Access. So, I guess just put like an 07 in the chat if you bought the game because of this video. Nothing else, like no other pictures, hype, friends. Like you watched this video and then you went straight to Steam and bought it. I'm curious if this was like, because some of you guys mentioned already. Because I mean, I think for me, it probably was, because I bought the game. Oh, look at this. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think, was the trailer what made me buy it? I don't know if I saw some article about it first. Like something was like, hey, look, there's a game where you can build spaceships. I don't really remember, but awesome. So you can see they definitely seem to get a lot of you guys. Oh no. All right, it's all right. Little glitch in the system again.
Can you open up this pingy thing?
Yeah. It was at like two went down pretty much. So we can have, we've got like a network monitor thing here. So it means like, we can have like 2 or 3, it'll be all right. But it's like if it has 5, then we get a cutout. So yeah. Anyway, so that was just going over that, and it's great to see that so many of you guys are still here with us, and to see so many of you just kind of raising your hand in chat. It's actually a sign that we have a lot of the veterans amongst us tonight, which is awesome. Yeah, ping monitor, you got it, Gwyn. Yeah, keep an eye on that stuff. So on to this update. Marek, shall I play the game and then you talk about the update in the background, or do you want to look the blog post? What do you think?
Yeah, let's go through the blog post and we'll be jumping to the game.
Okay, well, I'll play the game then,
or keep the blog post open.
But for the stream?
No, just for us.
Oh yeah, that's false. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to put you down here then. Okay, and I'm going to, in the meantime, load into this Space Engineer as well, which is, of course, from the trailer. I hope you guys enjoyed the trailer. It was a little bit different this time. Like normally in the past, it's like super cinematic, like it's like a whole full story or interconnected stories. But this was almost harking back to old updates where we had like feature and then feature that actually coming up on the screen with text. So it was a little different this time, but I enjoyed doing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe
blog post,
you have the asteroid clusters here. Maybe let's skip to them. And so yeah, what to say? Originally we had asteroid clusters or some like asteroids with better shapes in original Space Engineers, also in Minor Wars. Then in some period it got changed with these fractal asteroids, procedurally generated, and it like stayed like that for a long time. And in this last update, we decided to also fix this thing. So basically, how does it work? And it's better explained in the blog post. Is that we create an asteroid in, let's say, 3ds Max, this 3D modeling software, with like nice curves, shapes, and everything. Then we use a special in-game tool for converting it to voxels, and this tool actually needs to kind of like raycast between the voxels and these triangles, voxel triangles, to get the like polygon shape to voxel thingy. And once it's there, then the game spawns the asteroid according to some function, like to create these asteroid clusters. And what also is done is that the game adds template shapes of asteroids together, sometimes additively, like adding together, and sometimes subtractively, so like subtracting. So you have a bigger asteroid and you use smaller asteroid to cut out from this bigger asteroid by the shape or using the shape of the smaller asteroid. And similar, it can also work for the material. So you can have small asteroid being kind of like placed inside bigger asteroid to spawn some ore in the asteroid. And what this allowed us is to have basically infinite number of shapes of the asteroids, and also the positions. They can be positioned, or they are positioned in a way that looks kind of realistic. So you have a bigger asteroid and then some smaller asteroids, as if there was some actual force or some actual thing that created this composition. Yeah, and so that's basically it.
And I think the one thing I wanted to add about it was how they work is, so as you fly through space, you'll get all kinds of different shapes because... Did you mention the subtracting thing? Sorry, I was distracted. You did you? Okay, that's fine then. Yeah. So sorry, I switched off for a minute. I was trying to do some things here. So yeah, there's a whole range of combinations. And while we're on the topic of asteroids, I'm going to open up the world to show actually the new asteroids that are being created in this update. Right. This is a whole range of them. You can see the size. It's really important because you see how big they are compared to the red ship. So this is a whole field, right, of new asteroids in the game. And these have all been, and I can now say that one of this big one here, I think, is it this one? Or one of these actually featured in the last update video. The big mysterious asteroid in the sky in the multiplayer update was actually one of these work in progress asteroids that we had here. So that's kind of like, it was like a little Easter egg, kind of saying some of the stuff that was being cooked up, right? And you can see here this is the red ship, right? So this is for good scale. And you guys know roughly how big the standard asteroids are. I think in the game mostly we had them like this size. Like the ones this row here, maybe this row here, right? Whereas now we have a whole kind of mega row of asteroids. And if I'm to take this red ship and just copy it next to the asteroid there.
Mm-hmm.
See the difference, right? This was something that we were really, really hyped about, like to get these mega asteroids in the game. So, and I think the shapestem is really like, no more donuts yet. The donuts are gone. Maybe to some people's disappointment, but no, they should no longer be there. And instead you get stuff like this, which is, I think, much more immersive and cinematic and all those. Yeah, look, Curvis is sad about no donuts. Yeah. There's a lot of them. I think, did you say, I think all of these are new. I think all of these have been handcrafted by Natik.
Mm-hmm. Maybe there are some existing. I'm not sure about this.
I don't know. I think none of these, I don't recognize any of the shapes from the old ones, the old selection. Like, I know the old selection pretty well, and I don't really recognize any of them. There's like this. There is a one donut actually. Oh, really, Aragath? Okay, so there's one donut left in there. And Aragath also, shouts out, I know he's in the chat there. He was someone who, from a game design point of view, got these working. He made a big push for this to get these clusters and the way they function and so on. So I know Aragath worked really hard on getting the clusters to look right and all that stuff. But then, of course, there was, multiple programmers actually doing the work on this as well. So, yeah, that's the asteroid clusters bit. I guess I'll scroll up and we can talk about, as we want to kind of...
Maybe people are interested like how the donuts actually got into the game, and the answer is that I added them there in the game when we were doing Minor Wars, or like when I was doing Minor Wars. And the reason for this was that in Minor Wars we still had this properly working additively and subtractively thing. So it was donut, but when you add many other asteroids on this donut, is not donut anymore, and is actually visible even in the in one of the trailers for Minor Wars, where there is some fight in the asteroid, in this donut asteroid, and there is some cave and stuff. And but then like in last couple of months, is there?
Fear not. So you were talking, just mentioning the end of the asteroids, right?
Yeah, the donut.
Yeah, the donut. The story of the donut, right? Revenge of the donuts. So yeah, it's really, really exciting. And I think this here is a prefab, right? This like we have the voxel maps. These are all big ones, but this here, this particular cluster is actually a single prefab, if I'm not mistaken. That's why it appears like this. So this is like a cluster.
Well, if you can send message to Tomáš.
Okay. Well, seeing as time is cracking on, while we've got you guys, let's move on to the main feature of the update, right? Which is, airtightness. This is the first thing. So do you want to talk about airtightness, Mario? Or unless you want to go to in-game help first.
In-game help.
Okay, right.
So in-game help is kind of small thing, big thing. It's something that will pop up in the left top corner and teaching especially new players how to do some basic activities in space engineers, like how to move in the game, how to use jetpack, how to fly a ship and stuff like that. And it's most of the time context sensitive, so it can detect that you start using a drill, for example, and we will teach you how to use this drill. And we also changed, all this little text that you saw on the screen that were giving you some guidance, like press G for, open the G screen. Yeah, guys. So I hope you heard my story about the new in-game help. So again, it's there to help new players to get into the game, to understand some things in some steps. In the following update, which will be bigger one, we will focus even on like the next step, which will be having some simple scenario or scenarios, like a chain of scenarios that will teach new players even more, like to show them how to drill, how to build a ship and so on. And this should help new players to get into the game. So let's move on another thing. Airtightness.
There's one thing, there was one thing about in-game help I wanted to mention, but I can't. And also, if for people who don't want to see the messages particularly, you can turn it off in the game options. That wasn't what I wanted to mention about it. It'll come to me in a minute, but we'll crack on for now. And if I remember it, then I will bring it in.
Yeah, and the airtightness or oxygen was a feature that people were requesting, and also one of our developers, Philip, really wanted to make it like optimized or make it working well in like most situations. So he has redone the airtightness, and now it should be fast or reasonably fast, even when you build a big ship with a lot of air environment.
It's massive. The increases in performance is huge.
Yeah. And also we added this little thing, like finally we actually put there some reason to have oxygen in your ship, so when you are in oxygenated environment, your health or energy is regenerating, as you are in it.
That's like a gameplay changer, right? So another reason for you to encourage you to build pressurized spaces, so you actually get that suit regeneration of oxygen and your health as well. So it's like an enticement to, because obviously some people are like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. No, saved. Saved. It's good to have that enticement to actually build in a pressurized space like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the also airtightness has moved from experimental, and I think that leads on to how many our kind of process of once we find a solution to getting things optimized, they actually can move from experimental to the main game. So there's actually 4 things in this update which have gone from experimental to stable, which is airtightness, lobby multiplayer, so like local Steam or your friends multiplayer. The other one was kind of bounced around a little bit. There was workshop worlds, and the FOV slider as well has now been moved to safe mode, because there was, we now realised in this FOV slider there was some weird things happening on certain FOVs, which is why I think we had it in experimental. But now those issues have been fixed. So yeah.
Well, it's actually quite hard to make the FOV slider work in these various like angles,
Right.
Because then you can see like through your weapon and things like this.
This is what the same thing we adjusted, I think.
And we really cannot adjust it for all these possible values, because again, it's not the main thing. So, but now people can move the slider, and of course they can get 2 values that will make them see things they should not see. But again, that's the cost of having that FOV. So Joel, if we are not on, right? We are not online yet.
We are on, actually. It's catching up. Mm-hmm. Saved, I think. Saved? Yeah.
So please, let's move to the next thing in the blog.
Okay, we're going to power through this now. So Goodbot.
Yeah. And Goodbot is a, let's say, small thing in Good AI, or like a Good AI Research is a company, sister company called Good AI Applied, where we are developing some software or some AI software actually for companies from this region and also from the worldwide. And one of the things that we have is chatbot that is being used in some banks and telco operators, and basically it should help people to communicate with the support line or something like that, and let them solve some issues that can be solved by a chatbot. So it can contextually ask, get more information, solve some things. And the guys from Space Team also wanted to implement the chatbot to space engineers so it can teach people some basic things. So for example, if you want to learn how to use doors, or what time is it, and answers to these simple questions, the chatbot can guide you. One thing that I would emphasize is that the chatbot always depends, or its ability or its usefulness always depends on how we train it. And we can always train it more, so it would be able to accommodate your questions in like wider range of situations or questions and so on. And in space engineering, it's not that much, So I would say, and because also the range of situations you can get in space engineering is really huge, so we had to limit it a little bit. So one kind of disclaimer is that the chatbot is not exactly what the good AI applied is selling. It's, I would say, like simplified version of that chatbot, but still it's something that can be useful for new players if they want to talk with the chatbot. Yeah, you can ask him what time is it. You can do it. Just you need to put the question mark in the beginning. Yeah. And now.
Good answer.
Yeah, good answer.
So that's interesting because, of course, the question mark.
You can ask your name.
The question mark at the start is so that like you can ask people. You can talk normally with chat without triggering Goodbot, right? So yeah.
Well, he doesn't know this.
Damn it!
But,
hold on.
You can like say your name.
What do you mean?
So clue.
Just type.
And if you ask him my name or just say my name. Yeah, and this is strange. Like, he can answer to your name, but cannot answer to my name.
Yeah.
It's very,
apologies, I don't know who that is. Must be somebody.
Yeah. Or nobody.
No, or no. Oh, no! Press the wrong button. Press the wrong button there. That's all right. All right, hold on. How about like if you spell it like? No. All right. No. I was just thinking here. Don't worry about it. What? How do I build a new ship? No.
So ask about.
It's not available. That's a different answer there. So there could be something to because it obviously uses a server, right? Mm-hmm. So there could be some server side on that thing.
Or try again. And
it's because our internet, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It's because our internet is disconnected. And look, maybe that. No, it's all right.
Or just ask about the like door or generator or something simple.
Oh, hello. Oh, this one. It picked up door there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can ask about jetpack.
Oh.
Jetpack.
There you go. Telling us some stuff. Yeah, so it was not available because...
the internet was...
The internet, right? We had a little drop. We had a little drop in the internet here, which the stream cut out, but I was wondering, so maybe... What did I ask it that didn't work? I wonder if it does this. Thought maybe who is your leader? They should put an answer, right? They should get an answer for this one.
But he's learning. So the guys,
I'm still learning.
they have a selection of words, like this word map. So they see like the most asked words or topics, and then they can start adding more and more. Yeah, word map.
Where is it? Let me see if I can find that.
They can start adding more and more answers.
Peta sent it here. You guys, did you see this? And there's some really interesting things about this, right? Hold on. Wrong button. Wrong button. Yeah. Right, I just want to show you guys this image here. It's really cool. This is a bunch of words that we had typed, and there's some really interesting ones that come up there. I mean, obviously Clang's quite big, but this was a fun little thing we made. I don't think there's anything offensive in here. I don't know if Petter included.
I don't see it.
I mean, I don't know why. We probably should have checked beforehand, but there's you got
chicken.
Wait.
Farm.
You can see poor old Goodbot has been answered some. Hold on, there was some kit, kill.
Okay, so let's move on the next topic.
Right. Yes, exactly. I'll get distracted here by that. So. Back to the blog post. Goodbot's gone through relative inertial dampeners.
Yeah, so this was another idea that we had. The reason for this was that, especially for me, every time I was playing, or there was like certain situations where I was in a cockpit, let's say in this landing ship, or this this ship that is landing on the planet, and I left the cockpit, and now it depends on what was the current configuration, but sometimes I left the cockpit with dampeners on or off, and if they were off or if they were on, actually I stopped moving, but the ship was still falling down, and basically this collision killed me, and it was very confusing for me. So I was assuming it must be confusing also for some other people. So we're thinking about the solution and doing the relative dampeners, which means that whenever you're leaving a cockpit, you will have this auto dampener thing on the ship you just left. Seemed like a good solution. And then basically doing this Control Z thing that you can lock to some other ship and basically start following it as with these relative dampener things also seemed like a good solution. So it wasn't, I wouldn't say it wasn't a big thing, but regarding the good experience with the game, or like this life enhancement.
It's quality of life thing. It's really handy. And actually, Aragath was showing off actually how you can use it for a lot of different things. So for example, you can set it up so you have like decoy drones that follow your ship around and they'll match your velocities. So there's a lot of uses for the relative inertial dampening outside of the kind of follow your friend around kind of thing. So I'm interested to see what people come up with using this basically grids, locking onto other grids, because there's definitely going to be some cool stuff with it, I think. And while we're back, hold on, we there? Sorry, right. One of the things I remembered, this station, right? This station was not made by me. I made the big ship in the dock. I made the small ship that goes through the corridor in the repair area. But this station is not made by me. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. So I'm gonna have to. I'll find the name of the creator and I'm gonna add it to the YouTube link as well, because I suddenly realised in the madness of today we didn't add it there. But maybe Evan Baxter knows. But it's a super Awesome. Verd. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, it's made. Yeah, it comes back to me now. Verd. And it's beautiful, right? I've checked it out on stream in the past, and it just fits my ship perfectly, right? For like a dock, and it's got the smaller docks, so I kind of wanted to have that as a cool backdrop, and then have this idea of. And the other thing is, the mentality with the video, I didn't want to have like the same kind of red versus blue. I wanted to try and have some kind of accident, right? Because accidents happen in Space Engineers. For me, more often than others, but it's something that, you know, when you guys are playing multiplayer, you might come into a dock too hard, or you might misjudge something, and so on. So I kind of wanted to try doing an accident instead of like the classic red versus blue for this one. I experimented with some different things, and I'm glad you like the asteroid clusters. I think I struggle about what's my favorite feature in this update. Honestly, I think possibly the performance stuff, because performance, depending on your system, could be hugely improved, right? We have occlusion culling, and this is a feature of the render which people have been asking for a long time. So basically, if you don't know what that means, things that you can't see aren't rendered. So let me see if I can demonstrate this real quick. I might just try, it might be hard here. Okay, let's go inside a block, right? No, hold on. Right. Yeah, this might do it. So right now, the performance is definitely much better. I'm pleased you think so, Chozo. I'm really pleased you think so. So if I just go through this, if you look really quick, you'll see the whole ship pop in. Because when I'm inside, looking at this wall, I can't see that ship. Beforehand, it would have been rendering it and bringing down my FPS. And also, we unlimited because in the past, the CPU was limiting the GPU. And that's something that we changed in this update. Honestly, the back-end stuff, the performance optimizations in this update, they're not like, what's the word, bells and whistles like the dampeners. They're not something that's so noticeable from a trailer, but really, the tech. We have tried. It's not like we've sat idly around. We have investigated the problems, troublemakers, and we have tried preventative measures. And it seems more must be done still, unfortunately. I am so sorry, guys. I will just say that. I do really apologize, and I am embarrassed by the issues. But yeah, as persistent as we are, the issues or the causes of the issues are being equally persistent, at least. So we've got to still, after this, look at other systems to try and fix this. I know it's frustrating. Like, I know both as a streamer and also watching a stream when it just constantly cuts. I know what it's like. I know it's frustrating. So I appreciate you sticking through even with us up to this point to get some of the juicy facts from Marek about this update out. Anyway, so I'm trying to show you this popping here. Maybe let me try it with like a. How can I show it easier? Maybe with this ship here. It's so quick. There we go. It's so quick. Unless you fly through a block like this in Spectator, you won't see it. But this is more noticeable here. Look, ready? Can you see that? Like, the front face of that ship pops in, right? And that's because until I see it, it's not being rendered. And of course, if you've got a weaker, a lower MPC, this is going to make a massive difference. And not just that, if you have really complicated worlds, it's going to make a big difference. And I mentioned this to Aragath just kind of on like I PM'd him, right, saying how this update, even though I've had 60 FPS in the past, this update feels smoother. Now, you might think I'm being biased in it. I guess I am. But I'm trying to come at this from like my personal Space Engineer streamer point of view. But it's hard to describe. I've hit 60 in the past, but now it's 60, but it also smoother. And I think someone mentioned the other day, it's because the frames are more consistent. It's dropping less, so it's staying above 60 all the time, or something like that. Because as you see here, we're streaming at 60. As I fly around this big ship, which back in 2013, I built this back in probably 2014. This ship would have brought the game to around 30 FPS probably, alone, nothing else. Like just the ship in the world would have crumpled my PC in the game back then. And the fact that we've got this huge asteroids and clusters and bases, I think it's a really big milestone. So I just wanted to talk about the kind of performance thing. And I guess as Marek's not here, he's just talking with our IT guy right now. So I guess we'll carry on as we have got limited time here. Is that I'm coming back? He's coming back now. Hi Marek. I went on and was talking about performance stuff and how all the crazy tech like the render, occlusion culling and all that stuff has made a big difference. And people are saying they're noticing differences already in performance. So
good.
That's good. So I don't know if you had anything specific to say about performance and the work on it, or.
Well, there are some technical details, and some improvements are minor, just like, let's say, in few percent. Some of them are tens of percent, some of them are hundreds of percent. But also these hundreds of percents are that it's improvement only in those special cases,
Right.
So it doesn't mean like the game will run, let's say, 3 times faster like all the time. It just means that one particular calculation is now, let's say, 3 times faster. But since the calculation wasn't like 100% of the render, it was, let's say, only just some fraction of it, then it will improve only that one. But still the numbers, and I think Joel just put them on the screen, the numbers are nice. Because before, let's say in Mission 4, before we had 7.8 milliseconds per frame or per update, but I think this is per frame, and now it's only 3 milliseconds. And just to give you some
it makes it dramatic,
context,
isn't it? 1000%.
And just give you some context, when you are running a game at 60 FPS, that means that you have 1 second to do 60 frames, or the game has 1 second to calculate and render 60 frames. And this means basically that for each frame the game has more or less 15 milliseconds, because 15 multiplied 60 is kind of 1000 if you round up the numbers. And so if you go from 7 to 3 milliseconds, it's actually a huge improvement on this 15 millisecond time budget. So that's nice. And
actually, it's basically, again, reiterating about that, and about when it comes to the percentage and upgrade, like in the trailer, of course, I state up to 300 because we thought that was a good number, where Chenda during his testing was getting 300 more or less, and as you see here, some things it'll be even higher. So it is totally dependent on your system and the scenario you're in, but you could really see some huge FPS games in this.
I could see also myself. And what else? Did you also explain the technical?
I was talking about the occlusion culling, how like when you're not seeing it, it's not rendered and all that. And it's also one of the things is the shadow cascade was a big thing as well. Like we had it where it was culling the blocks, right? But the shadows of the ships and stuff were still there, and that still adds a huge amount of performance. So we also ended up culling the shadow cascades as well, which also made the performance even better than the just kind of standard occlusion culling, right? So, oh, this is pretty exciting. This is a good thing. Sectan is a big fan of this one.
One thing to these optimizations is that you can basically be incrementally improving your game like forever, basically, because the optimizations are usually that when you're implementing some algorithm, usually you start with some basic implementation of this idea, just like the core concept, just to test if something is possible. Doesn't mean you will write it in some bad way and it will be slow, but usually you are just focusing on testing some concept. And in the next stage, when you validate the concept, then you can start thinking about, how to reduce some calculations. Like, for example, the occlusion cooling, I think, is perfect example of this one, because the best way to optimize something is not to do that thing, if you know what I mean. So, for example, if your game is rendering, let's say, like 30 ships, the best way how to optimize it is to not render 30 ships and to render only, let's say, 2 ships. but you need to find out how to make it so that you can render only 2 ships and player will still not see a problem, like a missing ship or something. So you need to pay attention, or you need to pay something. You need to do this occlusion test to see if some ship is occluded by some other ship or some other occluders and so on. So you need to kind of pay something to get this benefit. But then again, if in total it balances out, then you are good. And then you will optimize some other execution path, and then some other, and then some other, and then some other, and you can just continue. One nice analogy I read somewhere is that people who designed the hard drives, like the old magnetic hard drives, not the SSDs, but these old magnetic hard drives with the like spinning wheels or things, 50 years ago, when they look today on current implementation of these hard drives, like it's completely unrecognizable, when you look on this original proof of concept, basically, that was, let's say, 50 years ago. And the reason is that the current hard drives have so many layers of optimizations on top of each other and so on, that the basic principle of reading the magnetic, these dots or something, is the support for mods bigger than 2 gigabytes. We did this together with Sectan, one of our long-time modders, community members, who is here in the stream.
Yeah.
So that's another good thing, that now people will be able to have much bigger mods, basically.
Even crazier stuff.
Is a good thing and bad thing, because it will mean that now when someone was having 300 mods, and was downloading forever, and now it will
people have like 302 gig mods.
Yeah, so it's a good and bad thing, of course, but it's more power to the people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going into the future. It's like modders keeping adding more stuff to the game even long after its development's moved on from it. Right, it's also a really exciting prospect. So I think we've gone over all the features. So really quickly haven't we? But we have in fact gone over all the features mainly. Mm-hmm. And no, we haven't. The other one, we've done a lot of work on the in-game screens, right, guys? So the new blueprint screen, you'll see here. You can see all the icons from it now. You can change, and everything's in one page now, pretty much. You can compact it into text like you had the old blueprint screen. A lot more space, and you can do all the editing, renaming, all in one thing here. And the same as with the what was it on the main menu? I'm going a lot of the load game screen. I've gone blank. What was the other screen that changed?
New game.
New game?
Yeah, new game.
Yeah, it has changed as well. I thought so. Yeah.
Those are. I still think they are kind of minor changes.
Yeah.
But maybe I would not be even able to say now how it looked before.
All right.
But just simple things, basically removing unnecessary things, or making it more intuitive, especially.
So much for sticking with us. We're going over the last couple of points.
Yeah, so the last, or one of the last, is how we moved many things from the experimental mode to the kind of like out of experimental to official. So I will just quickly repeat what is experimental mode. We introduced it a couple months ago in the multiplayer update, because we needed to move some of the, let's say, experimental or unfinished things, or things that we were considering to not finish, or like to not to say this way, but like not part of the official game, but still we didn't want to remove them from the game because people are used to them, so we decided to move it to this. In this update, we reconsidered a few other things and we moved them back to official game, or like we made them official because we finalized. So one of these things that moved from experimental to official is the air pressure, the oxygen. Another, Angel, if you can help me with, is the lobby, how we call it, or
lobby
actually
multiplayer.
It's basically when you are playing multiplayer, but you are not connected to a dedicated server, but you are hosting a server or world in your computer, and your friends join your computer. So this is what we call lobby, and it was in experimental, but since it was like heavily used by players, I think the numbers were like 30% or more of the game sessions were actually on the lobby, not even in the dedicated server multiplayer or like single player. but they were in this lobby. We decided to make sure that it's official tested and properly working, because if something is so heavily used, then it must be solved. Another thing that is not part of experimental mode anymore are realistic sounds, and the reason for this is that like the sounds themselves actually were good always, but since they needed the air pressure, the oxygen to work properly, like for detecting where you are in oxygenated environment and so on, they were dependent on the air pressure. So if the air pressure went to experimental, we also had to move realistic sounds to experimental. But now they are not there. So again, you can play now Space Engineers in two sound modes. One is this arcade, where you can hear, kind of like in a game, like there is an explosion, and even though there is vacuum and space and you shouldn't hear it, you actually hear it because it's a game. But there is this realistic mode where you hear only things that you are somehow physically touching them, or where the vibrations can kind of like transfer the sound to you. And there is also this muffler effect, so when you are drilling, you don't hear like but you hear just like boom boom boom, just like these vibrations going through your body if you're suit and so on. And I think it's very good mode, like I really like it because it's so realistic and adds the atmosphere to the game. Another thing that went from experimental to official are workshop worlds, and this was, I would say, kind of like a small thing. It was just deciding basically that people are going to use the workshop worlds anyway, so let's make them official, or like let's make it easier for them to use it. And another thing is FOV slider, field of view slider, that Joel already mentioned, was that we had it set like from I think 40 degrees to 70 was the safe, but now we remove this limit and people can set it to much like smaller or larger values. And again, there can be some downsides, but that's it, like that's the cost for this. Anyway, so I think this is pretty much covering all in this update, and there are many more things, of course, and they are mentioned in the changelog. Like, so if you want to hear or see more details, please go to changelog. And what we are going to do right now is, as we are always kind of not wanting to say too much because we want to have this freedom of changing things, and actually you can see it even now, because I must admit that 3 or 4 months ago I wouldn't put my hand in fire for having the update as we have today. Like, I wouldn't be sure. I wouldn't be sure about airtightness, about the asteroid clusters. I wouldn't be sure about the lobby, for example. I wouldn't be sure about, I don't know, like few things, many of these things. So that's the reason that I don't want to like promise something and then 3 months later explain why we didn't deliver or something like this. This is just better for me. And other than that, I think we are still transparent and able to explain every our decision. So back to this thing, Space Engineers is almost finished and very soon will go out of early access, and that's our main goal for the next how to say this, like next step. That's where we'll be focusing mostly, and there will be some big change, or one of these things will be the big change, of course. But I think it will be well received by the community because it's one of the things that they are kind of like yelling most.
Yeah, you made it kind of obvious now, haven't you?
Yeah. But this is also one of the things where I don't think I would be surprised in 3 months, that it is done, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm pretty sure we'll do it in a few months. So again, we are focusing on this thing. And
sorry.
And then, of course, there will be another future, long-term future of Space Engineers. We'll be continuing developing the game and the genre, and the next step again is something I want to keep open-ended. But one thing where I personally want to move is, in this long-term future of Space Engineers, is to focus on some actual objective in the game. Like, since all the building blocks of the game are mostly done, and with this next update they will be like 100% done, the next big step for space engineers will be focusing on some particular objectives for players, what to do in the game. So now, Jill, quickly to go to questions.
Yeah. Okay. We were still here now,
Yeah.
so
I would say let's say 3 questions and then we are done because
3 questions.
because the internet or something.
So ask away, guys, and Marek will choose one because obviously you're gonna have the questions. So I'll leave it up to you, Malik, to pick your questions. Or shall I pick them for you? Let's see here.
Again, it's off.
Oh.
Yeah, Tomáš? Yeah.
It's almost like no questions. No, oh man. We're back up now. We're back up now.
Potřebuju to vyloučit, není to jistý. Potřebuju na chvilku odpojit ten kom ze sítě a zapojit ho jinam. 2 minuty. Můžu teď, nebo teď to už nemá smysl.
We're back up now. So.
Yeah. So let's make a 2-minute technical pause, okay?
For testing.
Yeah, for testing.
All right.
And then we'll be back online. But you can keep sending your questions because in a meanwhile, Joel and I will be reading them. So Joel, you can pause it for a while.
So we're going to stop the stream, guys, but this is a controlled stop, and we're going to just do a test here live.
Yeah,
to see if
this
we
one
can do
we have under total control.
Total control. So back in a bit. 1, 2, 3. Are we back? This is a new test, a new attempt to look at some stuff here. All right then. So you have to ask your question again because, of course, when you unplug the internet.
So, for example, Scart is asking if we can have donuts back in the game, and I think they can be added as mods. I could see how technically this can be done if someone decides to do it.
Wait.
So Gwindalmir is asking, will we see any more campaigns to finish the story? And I would say no. Basically, in the next update, what we want to do is to add some scenarios. I would not call them campaigns. I would just add them some scenarios that will teach players, various aspects of space engineering. But I would not call them campaign because campaign is something that I would like to keep for later and make a full-blown space engineering story, with actors, proper story, and kind of proper cinematics and so on. That's what I would consider a campaign. Even the campaign that is currently in the game, we actually changed the wording a little bit, and because we don't want to make it sound like some official campaign or something like this. It's just one scenario that you can play in space engineers, but I would not call it campaign. As you have campaign in, let's say, some Call of Duty game, not the recent one, but some previous ones, that's a campaign. And in our case, it's not like that. Because this version, this installment of Space Engineers was really always about the same sandbox aspect, where you as player create your own challenges, you decide what you want to build and test and so on. We didn't want to give some artificial goals to player. There are these little goals because you still can finish this campaign, but it's just small thing, the game itself should be open-ended now, but in the future there will be objectives. So do you have some other tip?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions here. Let's see. I'm just trying to also scroll back here as well. What's this? It's loads. I can just answer one quickly. Options available to control the frequency and density of asteroid clusters. I'm not actually sure, but I think Aragaf would know that one.
Yeah.
If you can, I don't know if the asteroid density now is set. I'm not sure about that one.
I think it should be, but Joachim will know better.
Yeah. And I can see some of our guys. We've got Aragaf, and Martin's in the chat as well, and so is Philcon. So they can answer. If you guys got any, answers some questions. That helps us out as well. Oh. Don't know, just let you, Merrick. Good so far, yeah. Biddy, I don't know anything. I don't know if we have any plans for that at the moment, for the autopilot. Like, I think it was improved just in the last update, right? I think there was some small fixes and stuff just in the last update. I'm actually not entirely sure.
So maybe while we are waiting for more questions, I will ask my question. How much would people want some decorative blocks in the game for large or small blocks? You know, something that is not necessary for the gameplay, not like a functional thing, but something that is decorating your ship or just adding some new decoration. Who would like this and who doesn't? Who doesn't want this?
Oh my god!
Like, who thinks is a stupid idea?
Oh, look at that! Look at that caps, Marek. It's a lot of caps right there. It's a lot of passion, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Chat's got woo. That's the most lit chat's been all stream.
Just a toilet. Okay, so that was nice. Thank you.
The more the better. I think people. It's not like some of it. It's not about having like loads and loads of stuff. It's just some basic things. So when you have like a crew quarters, you can have like a desk and stuff like that. It's not about necessarily go ahead and releasing like hundreds and hundreds of blocks, but just a selection to actually have certain rooms in the ship which are dedicated for one purpose. Because I guess people now are using their creativity to use small blocks and ground down blocks and everything to try and create stuff. So immersion, it's all about that immersion, right? So as Malware said, I think a lot of people, from what I gather, just want the bare minimum to make a ship or station look like it could be lived in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere where you can sleep, somewhere where you can eat, a shower, I guess, maybe, store suits, I don't know. Yeah. Do you want to try and? It's kind of a long.
You mean the long one?
Yeah. That's what
Maybe you can try.
Alfrost asks about multiplayer synchronization being tested with more server, client, and game scenarios, locations, trash in world, more experimental features, higher server and network load, higher latency, all the different combinations. So, about more testing, yeah. Like when it comes to multiplayer, there are still some edge cases and places where there are issues, but the team are still taking in bug reports for those issues and are still processing them like normal. So yeah, like multiplayer has got bugs, yeah, but again, that's why the game isn't like final. So please do, if you encounter weird issues, it's just use our feedback site, our support site, to get those, because I know the guys are always trying to chase down more cases where it's not quite working the way it should, right? How you guys how have you been finding the support side as well? Because also mentioning about memory leak on dedicated servers. I'm not sure, Sotero, but
Yeah, but I think in any cases, if someone has problems with dedicated server or some world or something like this, they can contact us at support.kineswh.com.
Yeah.
And some people are already posting this link in the chat, and just report it, and then we'll look on this. And I think that in recent months, especially since Jesse is here, I would say our support, has improved a lot. So basically the only way how to fix some bug that only you are experiencing is to send us this report, and then we'll get in touch and try to solve it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. There was something I saw. Oh, there was one thing about I have to remind you guys about the official servers, and Philip told me to tell you about this. They currently don't have pressurization on, and that will be something they're rolling out in the next couple of days. I think it's just due to the setup of the worlds, right? So just if you plan to use those to play with the new pressurization, you're better off setting up something yourself for now. But we'll be in the process of transitioning those over to pressurization servers in the coming weeks. Although Philcon says that Russia #1 has Airtightness on now, so there you go.
Mm-hmm. By the way, someone was asking about more tools or weapons. So in the long-term future, I would like to have many more tools or weapons in the game, and even with better interaction. I always like in games just to go around and patch trees, walls, and anything basically. And I would like to do something like this in Space Engineers as well. And I think it's a really missing feature. And
you love to punch things, don't you, Marek?
Yeah.
I can
but only
speak
in games.
from experience.
No, I only do this in games. So I would like to see more weapons, but interesting weapons in Space Engineers. So things that are somehow in this engineering realm and are using or building on top of the volumetric world that we have there. Not just copy-paste games from other games, but actually something that is unique to our game. Minigun. Yeah, and actually a gravity gun in Half-Life is, I think, good idea. It's one of the things that I think can be very useful in Space Engineers. I was thinking about this lately. Not just pulling things, but actually maybe for placing things and so on. I think with what we already have in Space Engineers, I think it's a great thing, in my opinion.
I like the idea of that.
Half-Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to do any more questions, or you want to wrap it up there?
I think we can wrap up.
Okay. I see a lot of questions, guys, but that will be all for tonight. And if we can get this, I think the intro's been good now, hasn't it? Ever since we made that adjustment, right on. So let's guys. I know it's been a tough night, but I was gonna say here. I need you guys to put some love in chat for our IT guy. He's been here, still at the office, nearly 9 p.m, staying late, away from his family to try and battle these pesky invaders. Yeah? Whoever you are out there. So I just wanted to say, he's just been running around like crazy, trying to figure out all this stuff. And I know it's been up and down, but actually by the end of this, we seem to have solidly got this reliable by the end here. So hopefully, going into future streams, we don't have any more issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. IT, the unsung hero. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the update. Yeah, please do post your pictures, leave the feedback on the support site, and we will see you possibly before the next update. Who knows? Who knows what will happen? But it's been an absolute pleasure, guys. And also big shout out to our entire team who have done a cracking job on this update, from the features to the optimizations. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy it. So yeah, have a good one, guys. See you soon.
Bye bye.